follow the other connector.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like
But it's a good start. The hardware is all there.
yeah.
And you can buy those on the market now, and they're open to interface to them?
I don't.
I don't think they are open, but
Yeah, it looks like it was basically the YT359 that I have with a hydraulic steering control on it.
Throttle and brake, or transmission and brake?
Yeah. Well, it's all electronic, so I bet do some screwy things to get it to stop, trick the brake, but it's all electronic under the hood.
Good to hear. Evening, Sam. How are you doing?
Good, Matt. How are you?
Good.
While we're on here, I just got an email. I'll pass along to everyone else. Oh shoot! I was all excited. SwiftNav told me that their new version 2.2 firmware will provide RTCM output. So it's going to provide RTK corrections, standard RTK corrections. They said it would be out this week, and they just sent a message saying that it would be postponed by 2 weeks. So, but if you have a Piksi multi and you want RTCM output, know that it is coming. I was starting to work with some code to go from Pixi's SBP to Rhinex to RTCM, but it looks like that might not be necessary here in a little bit.
I missed the beginning of that discussion, but Swift has been able to put out RTCM3 for 6 months or so. Version 1.4 or whatever would do it.
That is not known to their engineers.
Oh, well, if you pull down the little menu where it says output RTCM3, it just does it.
I'll have to have you show me that.
Because back in August, I was sending correction data to a Novotel and got it to do an L1 float by sending correction data from that. So it's already in there. So you don't have to wait for the new software.
That would be awesome. Yeah, I would love to have that capability. I looked around and finally sent a message to them, and their applications engineer got back to me and said it was coming. So if there's a tricky way to do it, and I wonder if maybe it's a version 1 thing. They changed a lot of things going from 1 to 2. They got rid of some stuff like SSH.
I guess that's possible. They might have thrown it, but it would put it out over a serial port or whatever. So I would think it's probably in there.
Do you have a screen? Could you give me a screenshot or something that?
Well, I think I deleted my stuff. Let me go talk about some other things. I'll see if I can find that.
Thank you.
Evening, Colin. How are you doing tonight?
Chef.
I saw a news article today that your gas prices are a little high.
3 times higher.
I hope that doesn't impact your farm too much, or the prices get under control soon.
It does impact on our operations. Almost 200% increase. It's unbearable. You know, I had enough for the time being, though. I had enough for at least 18 months. So I'll be trading off stock, but replacing it is going to be very difficult.
Tonight we have open discussion, and Tommy has a presentation on an auto steer product. Tommy, do you want to start off with that?
Yeah, I can do that. Yeah. Just share my screen here. Do you see my screen?
Yep.
Wheelman Rust developers version. Yeah, I work for this company, Ag Junction, that's doing auto steering. And let's see if we can. So we do traditional auto steering like Trimble and Topcon and so on. And this is one of our products here, doing headland turns and so on. So pretty, I think, state-of-the-art auto steering. Then recently we made this new release we call Wheelman. We created a website called handsfreefarm.com. And we sell this directly to the farmer, so he can buy it online. He gets a box with this kit, and he can install it. So the idea is to create a low-cost product that is affordable for smaller farms. So it consists of this electrical steering wheel. So in this version, you pop out the steering wheel, and then you put this unit on the steering wheel. And then it comes with a GPS, and then you download an app to control it. And then you have a complete auto steering system for just below $4,000. And it will do A/B straight lines and contours and so on. Then we've been using ROS internally for some research projects. And then we were playing around with the idea about creating a ROS interface. Yeah, I would just like to hear if there was any comments on doing something like this. If it's something, maybe there was some people that would be interested in being a test customer. We haven't developed it yet, so we're just playing with how much do we need to make it a useful system. So to release a first step. So the hardware is the GPS that comes with it right now is SBAS GPS. It will also come with RTK later, and then it integrates an IMU also. And then the steering wheel unit that is turning the steering wheel also include an ECU and this simple dashboard. So you can, there's some buttons down here on this part here where you can control it. So you don't have to use the app for the most simple tasks. But the app is the main, that's the main user interface. So we're thinking about making a ROS interface that we could use to control the steering wheel motor. So it would be an easy way to hook on to a tractor and steer it. And then it would be able to follow paths like a conventional auto steering system. So you can, from ROS, you could set an AB line and record a contour, and you could replay and follow that. And then also from ROS, you could provide a path input for the system to follow. And then, at least in the first step, and that's more about UI and what's convenient to use, and it would still, for configuration and calibration, it would probably still be the app that you would use for doing that kind of stuff. Also, if you needed to upgrade the software or something, it would be via the app. Yeah, and then just make that available and see what happens. And then we're also thinking about taking a simulation, and then you could work with your system. So we imagine a bit, if you wanted to do some more advanced auto steering, then you could use this as your actuator, and also pass, following a path and so on. But also provide an environment so you could use it together with a simulator. So when you're doing your development. Yeah, so that was, I don't know, is that something you think would be useful? Or do you have any inputs, requirements to a system like this?
Is that the full system for under 4,000? The hardware and the steering motor controller?
Yeah. So that's a complete system with a GPS antenna, but it's only with an SBAS system. There's no pricing for an RTK system yet. We were thinking, yeah. So as it is a complete auto steering system. You would be able to steer your tractor and so on, and then you would connect to it on Wi-Fi, like the app connects with your smartphone to Wi-Fi. Then if you have some other device where you're running ROS, you would then connect to the Wi-Fi connection, and then you would get, yeah, you would get the GPS position, you would get the IMU data in, if you want to use that. But you would also get the TF. We would probably, in the ROS wrapper that you would download, that would interface to our protocol. So we have this, we call it guidance protocol internally, that we use between different components. So we would make a ROS wrapper that you would download, and then that ROS wrapper would then interface to our guidance protocol. And then it would bridge and publish the TF information, for example. So in Avis, you could see how your vehicle was moving around. And it would, we have a path planning interface that we also plan. You could, if you have a path in ROS, you could then send that path to our system, that it would follow that. But you would also be able to steer it and set an A point and then set a B point, and then it would create a line, and it would be able to follow that line, and it would be able to create the lines, the adjacent lines in the field. Yeah. So, yeah.
I'm delighted about to see this. I've been telling people GPS is going to change next year, so this is the year for it to change. I know I contacted a manufacturer about a motor for a wheel setup like this, and I recall that I was quoted over $4,000 for the motor, and I was told that they were the supplier to a major company that they could not name. So coming in under 4,000 for the whole system sounds really good.
Yeah.
Are you using just IMU, or do you have to have a wheel sensor, a wheel angle sensor?
No, it's just the IMU
Good.
and a GPS. So there's no wheel angle sensor on it. So it's really easy to install. So the IMU comes in a separate box, and then you have to mount that somewhere rigid somewhere on the vehicle, and then you mount the antenna on the roof, and then you configure the system in the app, and then you run the calibrations from the app. That's pretty much it.
Great. You mentioned a couple different interfaces. If I were using it, I would love to have what I call CMD-vel.
Yeah.
That would be a great interface to have, since you've got the IMU in there.
Yeah. I think we would use that as it's more the standard way in ROS to control something. So you can also hook up like a game controller. I think there's also a ROS controller app where you can control the CMD-vel topic, where you can publish to that.
Yep.
Yeah, we right now I'm trying to create an interface, try to make it as ROS standard as possible.
Do you think you'll be doing any other vehicles other than tractors, like ATVs?
I'm not sure about ATVs, but UTVs.
Or I'm sorry, UTVs.
Yeah, UTVs. Yeah, we can. I have it on a UTV here, on a Honda Pioneer.
Oh, great.
So it will install pretty easily on that. Actually, we have a speed control then from a company in Australia called McCruise. I don't know if you've seen that company, but I can post that. So they can control the throttle on an ATV and also on some tractors. It's actually interesting to see also. So they have a CAN interface that I interface to from ROS. So on the UTV we can then set the speed, but there's no braking, so it's it's not really. If it's going downhill, the UTV will continue for a while.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is that an add-on? It's a CAN interface addition to the UTV, or is it interfacing to the existing CAN on the UTV?
No, it's an addition. Yes, that is company McCruise. I can just
I think I've seen it. I didn't know that it was standard CAN.
No, it was something they were working on CAN, and then we wanted them to do an interface on, so they made it for CAN. But it's actually an interesting page, yeah, McCruise, where you can buy something to. It's pretty cheap, about $1,000. And they actually also put it on some tractors. Yeah.
That is not one that I had seen. Thank you.
I don't know what happened here. Yeah, but this McCruise, it's something we were thinking about. We could also, I don't think we will sell it, but we could maybe provide an interface also, so you can control the throttle But yeah, is that something that would be interesting for if any of you think it would be interesting to try out? Then we're a bit looking also for some people are interested in trying to interface in ROS, and we can ping pong about what it should be able to do. Right now we're trying just to scope it so we get a first step that makes sense with interface from ROS, and then you can add your laser scanner or whatever you want to add on it on top. Yeah. But
I think anything you do will be great. I'm curious, if I ordered one of these today, would I get it next week?
yeah, I think so. I'm not sure about the delivery time exactly, but you can. It should be next week.
Okay, so it's really
Prime thing, but I think it should be.
Yeah,
it should be quick.
I'm going to start recommending it. That's great.
Yeah. So if you go, you can try to check out handsfreefarm.com.
Do you know when you'll have an RTK version?
It should be fairly soon, I think. But yeah, I'm not. I can check up on that. But maybe in 4 months' time or something like this. I'm not 100% sure about the release schedule.
Cool.
Cool.
Good luck with it.
Yeah, thanks.
Tommy, this is Sam here. So I really like the product too. This is good at the price point, like where Kyler already mentioned. And then with the standard ROS interface, you would actually open up a lot of new use cases where it can be used with, obviously. And the one thing I wanted to ask, because I'm working on a path plan right now, is your path planner something proprietary, or are you guys using the ROS interface? And then also your path planning is based on the vehicle, or it can also take the implements, in the calculation. So that it can do the path planning based on like the vehicle itself, the tractor, or the implement both. Do you know how it works?
So by implement, you mean if you have some trailed implement or something like that?
Right, yes.
Yeah, I don't think it's in this product yet, but in our other more high-end OEM integrated systems, it has passive implement steering. So it can, to some degree, accommodate for where the implement is, but there's also a version where you can put a GPS antenna on the implement, and it would try to get the precision at the implement.
I see.
But so far, this one, you just enter your implement width, and then it will make the passes and accommodate that. But it won't take into account a trailed implement. I'll check that. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Cool.
The path planning is our proprietary, so that's stuff that's been developed over the last 10, 15 years.
I see.
So I don't think we have a business plan for open sourcing it.
No, I'm just asking if it's something ROS based or something.
Yeah, but we're not. But we would like to make it accessible then from ROS somehow. In a first step, it's probably just the standard features of an AB line and so on. But there's also an interface where you can send a pass. and then it would check the pass. Is the pass is drivable with the vehicle you have? Fit a spline, and it will then steer that line.
Wow, that would be wonderful. If if that interface exists, I'm sure that there will be a lot of usage, because now practically you can pull in any path that you have from any other system.
Yeah.
If it's in standard format, if it's the ROS, through the ROS interface, I'm sure that there are plenty of other planners that people may be able to use.
Yeah, by having that interface, it will be more flexible, because today this is a product that would steer the more traditional farm use cases. But if there's suddenly an obstacle in front, right now it would not plan around that obstacle, for example. It's something we can relatively easily add, but it's not really what it's doing out of the box. But
Cool.
Yeah. But yeah, if anyone is interested, please ping me on. We're looking for some people that are interested in trying it out, being an early test customer. Good. Yeah.
Sure. Next time.
So, Tommy, so some of the interfaces, are you imagining from ROS? You mentioned like obstacle detection, or would there be other things like implement controller, smart spring, different applications or different attachments that they could control?
Yeah, so in our high-end product, we also have section control and that kind of stuff to control sprayer sections. It's not in this product yet, and I don't know what the roadmap is for that. But of course, that's something you could imagine also that you could benefit from. But right now, it won't do any obstacle detection and so on. So it would be, if you want to use this and you want to add obstacle detection on your tractor, then you would have to do that in ROS, and you would also do your speed control from ROS, and then you would have to either control the steering wheel directly and steer it around the obstacle, because you could control the steering wheel directly, or you would have to use this simple pass interface, and then in ROS you would have to calculate a pass that would, as one of the ROS tools, that would go around the obstacle and then feed that pass to our system, and then our system could follow that pass. So right now the modes that you have for pass planning is just following A/B line, and then we have the possibility, probably in a second step, put in the turns, so it will turn at the end of the row. Yeah.
So this system accepts input from ROS as well? Is that what you mean by when you said that if we plan a path on ROS or with ROS or with something on a separate system, and then we feed the path, the system would go around it? How would you feed would you be feeding a path, or would you be giving it a command like a cmd-vel command, and it responds to the command? How does that work?
Yeah, I think there's the cmd-vel command. When we say cmd-vel command, we will only do the steering part. So for the speed, but I think as a small reference project, we would probably make a note that would take an cmd-vel input, and then you would have to do something to control the speed, but our system would do the steering. And on the test vehicle I have here, I can control the speed with this McCruise thing. But Yeah, I think it will have the mode where you can use the cmdvel command, and then it will have a mode where you can feed it a path from ROS. And then it will have a mode where you can select, for example, A, B straight lines. And then you can manually, with cmdvel, drive to your A point, drive to your B point, and then it would create the AB line, and then you could engage, and then it would follow the line. And then we have the possibility to do turns also. So we call them E-turns, but it's just these keyhole turns. So you could command it to do a turn. And I'm not sure if we can probably also do a mix of these modes. We have to figure out how you can shift between maybe following AB line and then do your own thing on the headland, maybe with a path that you generate yourself, and then when you are approaching a next AB line, how does it then snap to that and steer the next AB line? We haven't designed that exactly, but it should probably be a possibility that we steer the high precision stuff on the AB lines, and on the headland you can do some your own paths maybe. Sure.
It's super cool.
Thanks, Tommy. Looks interesting.
Yeah, I think it's a fun project myself. I hope the community would like it. So
build your farm in Gazebo and practice driving around, and then you've got the commands.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe we should gamify it a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're free to reach out if just contact me if you want to learn more, are interested in testing.
Okay. Thanks.
Tommy, do you by any chance have a demonstration of this system of yours? Do you have a video on it? Do you have a demonstration of this system? Do you have a video on it?
Yeah, right now it's only for sale in the US. So that I'm not sure where you are located.
Well, not in the US.
Oh.
In Africa.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, right now it's only released for the US market, unfortunately. But it will come. It's just the first step to release it in the US. Yeah, so there's only the online videos. There won't be any demos close to you right now. But
yeah, I mean the online videos.
No, okay. That's only what you see on the Hands-Free Farm page. I think there's a few videos, but they're not showing this with ROS. So this with ROS is not something we announced anywhere. It's just something we're designing right now.
Colin, I posted a link to the handsfreefarm.com in the chat. And you can see the videos online there.
Thank you.
Yeah. You can also just put in the macros, yeah, if anyone is interested in.
Is that macros? Is that like a mechanical, like an actuator, or is it an electronic interface?
It is a stepper motor that you build in. You take the wire from your throttle, and then it connects into this device that will then connect the wire to the throttle on the engine, but then it gets an extra connection that is connected to a stepper motor. So you have still your normal throttle operation, but then you also have the stepper motor that can pull the throttle wire. And then there's a small microcontroller, and there's an app to configure the settings. And then they provide a CAN interface also, so you can set the speed that you want. So you just have to set, I want to drive 1 meter per second or 2 meters per second. So it's pretty nice. I think they sell it to quite a few farming operations, because if you're using an ATV or UTV for spraying, then it's hard to keep a constant speed. And also, if you have the ATV with the throttle, it's not nice to hold that all day, and you get a sore wrist, I think. So, yeah.
It's great. That takes care of speed and steering.
Yeah, as long as you can somehow with a wire, you can get an interface. But if it's a UTV or something like that, they support quite a few vehicles. Yeah, then it's only the braking that we need a solution for.
Yeah, one that's like the air brakes on the semis, that it takes power to release the brake, and the default is the brakes on all the time.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Thanks for sharing, Tommy.
You're welcome.
Sam, do you want to give us an update on the project?
Yeah, I haven't made much progress since the last time. What I've done is like kind of generated the path using the Dubin's path, and then I can see that what I get back when I generate that, just like sort of point A to point B, A, B, what we were talking about, where I can get the X, Y, and yaw sort of, so that you have the heading. But then what we can do is like, right now we're just doing it for A, B, and then you can have any initial starting pose and the end pose, and you can do sort of Dubin's path. Will give you lots of the intermediate points in between with the yaw, X, Y, and yaw, and so that you can go from point A to point B, obviously. And then we can feed that to movies, and that's where we're at. We're trying to discuss that. Okay, what could be used? And I think to Kyler, this talk is probably about a year old, and I know kind of that he was talking about this last time, maybe a few months back. Now we're just between the Dubin's path and the PR pursuit, and what needs to be used, and what is easier kind of a deal. So I think I'm at that point right now where I know that we can have the XY points, but the move base is sort of not going to work, just because it will just stop all for all the waypoints, and we'll say, hey, goals completed, hey, goals completed, and I got like 58 points between A and B, right? So every time I cannot afford to have that. I need something which go like, okay, here's your point A and here's your point B, and then just follow the path. And you can give me the feedback in between, that's fine, but don't tell me every point you achieved and say, okay, well, hey, I'm there, kind of a deal, and then it doesn't need to be stopped now. Jeff commented that, we can use something where we can always like give it the way ahead point, where as soon as it's just trying to reach the goal, we can actually switch, the goal point. I don't know honestly how to do it, but I have to look into it. And then there's a second easiest way I was looking at it to track the path. Once we have the path, let's say the path's generated with the Dubin's path. PR Pursuit looks really interesting, and there are like some other algorithms like Stanley, and then there are some other algorithms too out there. But I think this is PR Pursuit's like really basic, old, probably tried and tested kind of a deal. If that works, it would actually take the whole action server out of the picture at this point. Maybe because we can use directly, PR Pursuit to do the CMD well at all the points what we have with the Dubin's path. Because if you have A, B, it's not a big deal. But when you have the parallel lines, and then you wanted to connect all the lines, you wanted to go from one end of your farm and then just go a zigzag way where you can have your ends connected either in a circular fashion, or maybe a keyhole or maybe a golf loop, whatever you want to say. And then you just go blip, 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 all the way through the other corner. I want it to start from, the one corner and then end to the other corner, right? So PR Pursuit's like probably should be working fine. I'm looking into the algorithm right now. There are like a couple of out there. The ones, the actual Python implementations, there's no ROS component to it. The other two that I see that's got the ones written in a way that like, the Action Server client, and then Action Server is completely C++ implementation, which sort of I have to read through it. I don't understand that well. The clients, actually, fortunately, it's Python. so that's the good part, that at least, make me understand that, okay, how, this PR Pursuit, the algorithms is getting processed. I think the other algorithm that I've seen is just also the part of the ROS implementations, but it has no Action Server, client server approach. So I'm looking at those two. I'm sort of looking for the approach at this point, but I think this can be done. And once it's done, we can go from point A to point B in a really zigzag fashion without any stopping in between. We should also be able to, control the velocity in between. And once that's done, I think we should be able to also put in the markers where once we cover the path, we can sort of track it, put the markers on, and those sort of things. So, I mean, that's the way forward. Right now, I'm on step 1, obviously, and wanted to go to step 10, but they're like in between steps, obviously.
Yep.
So that's all the progress on my end. But yeah, I mean, as soon as I find something like if I get to this step 2, I'll just put it into the lone tractor channel so that everyone can see it and anyone can chime in. But obviously, if you have any better ideas, just chime in and put it into the lone tractor, and then I'll should be able to take a look at it.
Okay. It will take a little bit extra work to use move base, but we'll get some advantages in the future. So we could just have a pure pursuit PID algorithm that we pass the path into, and then it will control to that. And we output the command velocity to hold that path. There are some advantages in the future with the move base. We'll have obstacle layers. We can have social layers. There's a lot of functionality that's added on to that if we follow that structure. But we'll get there.
Does anyone know that why the move base is not like being continuous in a way that it was designed, or this is like it's like fundamentally designed that way? I don't think so, but I'm not sure if there's any way around or workaround. I haven't seen it.
Yeah, that's a really great question. I don't know the answer to that, but that would be a good question to ask the navigation team or group. There's a group on ROS that just does navigation. The one example that I've seen is one that Ricardo did with the Husky robot, the outdoor navigation. And the way that they did it is to use 2 move bases, and they load in the waypoints. Both controllers load in the waypoints, and then they just switch between the 2. So the first one will take in the first waypoint, and then it will as you get close, you define the tolerances to your goal, and then as you get close, it will start the second move base goal, and then when it starts to get a signal, it will switch to the other one. So you're switching back and forth. Now, the way that outdoor navigation works, there is a tolerance, but what it's checking for is that your distance to the goal is not changing, and that's not what we want. We want to, and that's basically your vehicle is stopped. Distance goal is 0, and then it does a couple of checks. It does tolerance. It does if the distance to goal is not changing, and then is the other move base control outputting a message, command velocity is now active. So the one thing we would change is we wouldn't have a check to see if we're stopped. We would as we get the tolerance to our next goal, we would fire up the second move base, listen for the command velocity message. As soon as that's active, we'd switch the controller and move on. I don't know how jittery or how that would work. I haven't tested that in simulation yet. I did try to get the TEB planner set up that way. I ran into an issue. The way that they do it in the outdoor navigation stack, they're using a differential robot, so they're not using the TEB planner. They set up 2 separate namespaces. So you'll have controller 1 namespace and controller 2 namespace. But inside of the TEB planner, it doesn't respect the namespaces. So it's listening for move base as / move base goal instead of the namespace controller 1 move base goal. So there's some hard-coded paths inside of the TEB planner that need to be changed. I haven't made it that far. I was thinking that maybe the TEB's not the best one for us to use. Maybe a pure pursuit like the RoboNick or the Stanley one would be a better controller. I haven't tried those yet.
And then, so I have given a little bit of thought to it, and that's exactly what you're thinking right now. I haven't done any simulation with it, but essentially the implementation of that is with the simple action client and the server, you got essentially only one goal at a time, period. So that's how it works. So it means that you got 2 controllers. You have to constantly juggle between these 2 controllers. And what that means is you have to preempt one before the second starts. And that's very tricky. You know, that's something you would never get, like, you know, the smoothless, you know, constant velocity motion. It's very, very, very tricky. Even if switching the, you know, the goals, you know, like at the time where you just reach, preempt. And if you don't preempt, because it's got only, remember, you got only one goal at a time. And that's how the action server works, right? I mean, simple action server, obviously, and that's what we all use. That's what we're familiar with. And then if you don't preempt, you know, it will not take the other one. I mean, there got to be a better way. I mean, it just has to be something, you know.
Yeah, you would have to take in the command velocity from the move base 1 and command velocity from move base 2, and then do some blending as you're switching from the other one. I mean, switching hard from the other one, it would be hard to get the exact steering control, throttle control at the exact moment to switch to the next one. That's theory. I haven't tested that to see if there is, but.
Yeah, so there's exactly, that's the first and the foremost is like the time syncing. If you don't have that, you can't do it. If you don't have the time syncing, and then obviously once you get that right, you know, now obviously you're dealing with 2 different controllers that essentially controlling one vehicle. And
that's the way the Husky is set up, but I think that's a great question, and if it's not part of the navigation stack for one, that would be a great enhancement for the ROS 2.
I totally agree, absolutely. I mean, I don't know, I'm just going by all the comments that I see. My impression is it's not out there yet, which you can, you know, fit those, you know, the waypoint paths and then just move continuously. I mean, you can go from point A to point B, no problem. I mean, you can do that, but for our use case, we have to think about something something differently, and well, that's just kind of thinking in progress. So we'll see. The one other idea that just came to the mind is just if we can exploit the state machines. I mean, I'm not sure how efficient that would be, but I've seen the couple of packages where they've actually implemented the state machines, and then I'm sort of trying that very crudely if I can actually use the the state machine implementations of the ROS, and then basically take it to the FlexV and then see that if that works, but I'm not there yet. I mean, I haven't, I'm still into the exploration mode right now that which way I wanted to go. I haven't decided my workflow yet for the second part. So that's what I've been thinking.
Okay.
That's all update that I have.
Thanks, Sam. That's good. That's a big part.
So on your navigation, are you basically just taking the next point off the array and calling the what do they call it in navigation, where you say define new destination, where the new goal point is what you're doing?
Yep.
Yes.
Because if you go to RViz and you pick a point on the screen, you say go to this location, pick a point on the screen. When it gets halfway there, you just pick another point somewhere. It will just automatically switch to the new one. You don't have to preempt it or anything. So it just seems like if you just keep pulling points off and sending them to the tractor before it gets there, it seems like it should just smoothly go on to the next point.
So I think basically in the background, it must be preempting because you got that goal. So let's say if it's going from point A to point B, you said, okay, well, there's a new goal. So it says, okay, new goal provided. So basically what you do is preempt the old one and then now start following the other one. So we'll just do that and start following that one. That's what I'm thinking right now, that in the background, it will be doing that. You will see the, maybe a kind of info that printed on the console, maybe in the back end, that the new goal received. Essentially what that means is probably it must have preempted the other one. So it will say, okay, I'm not going there. I got the new goal, I got to go there. And then that's how it just turns to the other point.
Well, I think it probably does preempt it, but I don't think, at the user level that you care. You just simply say, here's a new goal, here's a new goal, here's a new goal. And I think it just follows it. But I might be wrong in that. I haven't actually tried to do that.
Well, yeah, that's the line of thinking. That should work. Even if we have to preempt, we're fine. I mean, you can just keep preempting those goals, and then as long as you get the constant or desired the velocity on the path that you're moving, I think we're fine. I mean, if that works, it just like switching the goals, and then you have to have the timing right. But at least we're like dealing with just the one controller. I think that's a good thing. I mean, instead of dealing with the two controllers. So I think we should try that. Absolutely.
So is the next step to switch out the TEB controller with a pure pursuit version?
There are two line of thought. The first is we'll try and preempt and then see that if that works. I think my desired solution would be a combination of move base and the pure pursuit. So I just wanted to see that if one way or the other. I mean, I need the benefit of both the worlds. I wanted to use the move base because that's the standard, the implementation, and it's got a lot of bells and whistles. So if I have to use, like you said, in the future for anything else, we should be able to use that. Somehow, if I can integrate pure pursuit kind of a deal, into that move base thing, I think that would be wonderful. But I haven't seen any of those implementations like it works like that. I haven't seen it. So right now it's one or the other. I need both.
Okay.
So we'll keep looking.
So back to Kyler's problem, where he's trying to get his Swift to talk to something else with RTCM3. During the whole time everybody's talking, I set up a Swift, and the first one wouldn't talk, and I set up a second one. And sure enough, that's not on the menu. It will not do that right now. So I found the email that I sent to the guy at Novotel where I said, oh, by the way, I got the Swift nav providing correction data for the Novotel. And I said what I did. I posted there in the thing what I did, where I was using one of the little tools out of RTKLIB, and basically you fire up the tool. It says connect the input to your serial port that's using the Swift binary SBP input, and then you specify the output. It might go out of serial port or wherever you want, but there's a little checkbox and you say convert. So you just say convert the whatever's coming in, convert it to RTCM3 output, and when you do, it just magically works. And here's a just to prove that it works. There's a picture, I think, from the latitude and longitude. I think it was our plant down in Ames. We were doing it. So here's the tractor driving around, and over here, you notice it says L1 float, because the Swift was only putting out the L1 correction data, and the Novotel wants L1 and L2. So it wouldn't do the full correction like it's supposed to, but that shows that the stuff goes all the way through. And this is long before Swift got all their L1 and L2 stuff working, so it may work correctly now. I don't know. And while I got my screen up here, I got our new Novotel, the Smart 7, running today. And over here, when I first turned it on, I think this is called the standard deviation of latitude, longitude, and altitude. So you turn it on, and it goes along, and then I think over here somewhere you got a single point fix. And then right here it says starting to converge, and it comes along like this and comes down. And right about here somewhere it switched over and says I've now got an actual PPP solution, and it just seemed to work. And I started my log file, and I went and drove over to Jimmy John's and back, and looked at my log file, and my data wasn't in there. So it was only outputting the best pause message, and I wanted all the regular NEMA stuff to look at. I couldn't get that. So anyway, I plotted stuff out of here, and this is the path that I took over there. And for some reason, even you got this line that's like 256 characters long with all this crap in the back here. There's no timestamp on anything, so I have no idea how long this took or anything else. So I got that done today. And so here's one. I did this. I just took it in the cafeteria and laid it by the window and turned it on. And when it started its convergence, it took 20 minutes to go from no signal to a decent signal. And that was inside of a building, just laying by the window, so I could only see like half the satellites, and it still worked fairly well. So tomorrow I'm going to try something like RTKLIB to talk to it, because their software is just crap that they give you with it. I've got the really old stuff that won't even connect to it anymore, and I got the newer stuff that will connect, but I can't print out one of those, like Al was talking about, that deviation plot, so you can see your the point moving around to see how accurate it is. Well, they don't even have that in their new software. I think they don't want you to evaluate their software is why they did that. But it just seems like it's old and kludgy. And what else did I have here on the screen? I guess I just printed this out. This was the Minnesota correction data from about a year to a year and a half ago. And I was looking at that. It seems to have only GPS data, but I think they upgraded that to GLONASS. So if I go look at it now, I think it has that. And we actually have a guy from Novotel coming in tomorrow. He's going to tell us how to get our covariances for ROS out of Novotel. And I don't know that he can, but everybody thinks he can. So he's going to come in and tell us that. And I just got the extra, like last week sometime, I said, well, we need the authorization codes to run the TerraStar corrections. So we got that, and then it says, oh, well, you can't run that unless you subscribe to the PPP, which is something else you have to pay money for. But so we got 2 free subscriptions. I got those loaded up today and got it running, so that's kind of where I'm at on that. And the other thing is on my mini tractor, I've got it, so I started moving motors, and I blew a fuse and found out my analog was really noisy, so I had to put some analog filters on that and play with the A to D stuff. So that's kind of where that's at. Maybe next time we'll have something else to report on that.
Isn't there a ROS driver for Novotel from autonomous stuff?
We just grabbed a random one. When we started out, we found 2 or 3, and whichever one we found, we went with it. And I think it was the regular one that was just in the regular ROS repository is the one we used. And I don't think we went with the one from autonomous stuff. I think they wanted us to use it, but we looked at it and they had some LinkedIn precompiled binaries, or it didn't work or whatever. I can't remember what the deal was. I remember Sean from North Star Robotics said they're using a different one for their Novotel and getting it to work. Or no, I guess it was Swift Nav that they were talking about. So
Okay.
it's just a random one we put in. I can't remember which one it was.
Yeah.
Matt, did you mention about your F9 receiver that you've been playing with? Has that come up, or did I miss it?
No, I didn't talk about. I posted a lot of pictures in that in the channel, Lawn Tractor channel. But I was thinking, I think that the base does some auto basing, and when I let it run for an hour, it started to smooth out. So I think a fair test would probably be to start up that base, let it run for a period of time, 20 minutes, half an hour or something, and then start to record the data. But I'm getting the connectors for the survey grade antenna tomorrow. So I have one. So it's do I put that on the base or do I put that on the rover? But
Do you have the antennas, or is that Al still have those?
I have one survey grade antenna, and then that's Al's. I bought one from China, but mine's still in the mail. Probably will take a month or something. But these are the type that came with the simple Arduino Simple RTK, which the satellite coverage was really good. I'm still impressed that they're able to see so many satellites.
Yeah, on mine I saw that the antenna came. I got the one that doesn't have the plastic cover on, the cheaper one, with the when I ordered mine. And I was running in my living room and I can see lots of satellites. But if I'd unplug that and plug in the survey grade antenna, the dB would go by about 10 points or so. So I think you're going to be happier with the bigger antennas on it.
So that'll be the test now, would be to switch to these, and then I've got some lower quality, but I think these would be good.
So do you have a TNC cable to go between that antenna and that connector you showed me?
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
okay, because that's not the way I did mine. Mine has a TNC connector on one end that screws right on the antenna with a small cable that comes out with SMA on the other end. And that, is that laying right here? It's not handy here, but it's just like the cable on that comes with the Swift nav. It's just a shorter one. It's only like 1.5 feet long or something.
This one's pretty long, but yeah, good point about always checking these in connectors. I get those turned around all the time.
And you can find one and it says it's a male connector, but then you look at it, the pin inside, it'll be either male or female pin there. So they've got like 4 different combinations of every connector. And if you buy it on eBay, they say it's one thing, you look at the picture and it's not, it's something different. So I'm just curious if you thought you got the right one.
Well, we'll see. I think I got the right one, but tomorrow will be the real test.
Okay.
Like, is there anything else for tonight? Thanks for the slideshow, Tommy. That looks awesome. Be great to see that out in the field running around. And
Yeah.
you guys have a great week. And Colin, I hope the gas prices get back down.
Yeah, you too.
All right. Have a great
All
week.
right.
Thanks, Matt.
Okay.
See you guys.
See you all.
See you soon.